morning, students. Welcome back, students. We are today here with the numerical portion of expenditure method. That is, we are calculating national income by expenditure method. Yesterday, we have done the simple numericals which will relate to the expenditure method, but this type of numerical can also come when we are calculating national income by expenditure method. Now, in this question, what you have to calculate is calculate private final consumption expenditure. This is a part or this is a head of the formula when we calculate national income by expenditure method. So, what are the given items here? Net imports, which is given to you as 60. Net current transfer to abroad is given as minus 10. Net domestic fixed capital formation is given as 300. Government final consumption expenditure is given as 200. National income is given as 1050. Consumption of fixed capital is given as 70. Net change in stock is given as 30. Net factor income to abroad is given as 20. Net indirect tax is given as 100. Students, in this question, we don't have to calculate national income, but we have to calculate ahead of the formula, that is private final consumption expenditure, in which national level income is given to you. Now, when national income is given to you, how can you calculate private final consumption expenditure? We will just twist the formula and we will get the private final consumption expenditure. Now, first I'll just tell you how to twist the formula. Clear? Now, here what is national income? That is NNP. When we calculate it by expenditure method, the formula was private final consumption expenditure plus government final consumption expenditure plus gross domestic capital formation. If in the question it is given as fixed, then you have to add change in stock because fixed and flexible are given differently. But if it is given gross domestic capital formation, then we will not add anything but except this is the formula when you will plus NFIA and minus NIT because it is at factor cost. Now, when you get this thing, here what we are given within the question is you have to calculate this. This is given, this is given, this is given. In place of export, imports are given and NFI is given and net indirect taxes are given. So we will just twist the formula. Then what the formula comes is private final consumption expenditure is equal to national income minus government fixed capital, government final consumption expenditure minus gross domestic capital formation if fixed and change in stock is given, so both will be deducted here, plus minus the net exports, okay? And we will plus the NFIA, then we will be twisting here and there, plus NIT. Now what we have done, we have just twisted the formula. We have taken this here or we have taken this, then all the things which is coming on the from the right hand side to left hand side, it has given as the change of the sign. Now what is given in the question, we'll just put in this formula and we will take out. Now so what is national income which is given? Okay, minus government final consumption expenditure minus your net domestic fixed capital formation minus your net change in stock. Now, why we are adding exports? It is not exports, we are adding net imports. Here, just keep in mind we are adding the imports plus net indirect taxes, plus we will be doing NFIA. I hope everything is involved. We have taken net change in stock, net imports we have taken, NIT we have taken, NFI we have taken. Now we will just put the values in this. National income is given as 1050 minus 200 is given as government final consumption expenditure. Net domestic capital formation is given as fixed capital. It is given as 300 minus it is net change in stock is given as 30, plus we have done the imports which we have, plus which is minus 10. Imports is given as imports is given as net imports in the question is given as 60. So we are adding 60 here because net imports are added in this question, plus NIT which is given as 100, plus NFIA 20. We are not taking net currents to the world because net NFI is given. That means whatever we are giving and whatever we are taking, it is already being adjusted if net factor for income to abroad is given. Clear? So everything we have covered. Let's see what you get it. Here 1550 minus 530 is 520 plus 60 180, so that is 700. So 700, that is rupees 700 crores is the private final consumption expenditure. This is the answer. Now students, just remember you can get this type of question also when you are calculating expenditure method. You can calculate private final consumption expenditure also by twisting the formula. The question can also go for asking that calculate government final consumption expenditure. In fact, the question can also ask calculate gross capital formation. Again, the question can also go for net domestic capital formation, that is fixed capital formation. Here we are not going for consumption of fixed capital because everything is in net. See, consumption depreciation is given, but already we are having everything is in net. That means nothing is in gross. So we have not deducted or added. We have not done anything on the consumption of fixed capital. So you have to see you have to calculate what you have to give it, what is given in the question, then just take out your answer. Some things are just given for your confusion, like current transfer is just given in the question for confusing you guys. So like this type of question, many questions would be there. So practice this, and I will be giving you more questions for practice. But this much for today in this numerical part. We will be doing one more topic today, which is the last topic of the chapter, that is the GDP deflator. Now students, I have done what is nominal GDP and what is real GDP. Here in one of my video I have told you the difference between real GDP and nominal GDP. What is real GDP? When we calculate, why it is real? Because we are calculating it at constant price. That means any base year price. In what is a base year? In which no fluctuations are there, in which no problems have occurred in this year. Like the prices index is very normal. So we take a base year price and we calculate the GDP at that base year price level. But in nominal GDP, we take it as the current price level in which you have to calculate. Now, what is your GDP deflator? What is GDP deflator? GDP deflator is your GDP at constant prices upon GDP at current prices. That means when we take the current prices as above, that means we are calculating the real GDP as, we are taking the real GDP, and when we are taking, this is real GDP, and when we are taking as current down, then it is nominal. Clear? That means this is nominal GDP. But students, when we are calculating how much we are deflating, so how much we are deflating means how we will be taking constant as above and current as down. Why we are taking it? Because always nominal GDP. What is nominal GDP? Why we are taking deflator? Because it tells the ratio. Now, it tells the ratio, how much change is there, how much level of output has increased when the prices were constant. Actually, it tells you the price index. Deflator tells you, deflator is also known as price index. What is price index? When we see what is the price level, the base price level, in that we can see what changes, कांस्टेंट कितना है, और उस कांस्टेंट से को अगर हम प्राइस लेवल रखेंगे तो एक्चुअली हमारा लेवल ऑफ आउटपुट में कितना फर्क आया है. इसीलिए हम कांस्टेंट को हमेशा नीचे रखेंगे बाय चेकिंग दैट व्हाट इज द चेंजेस इन द करंट आउटपुट बिकॉज ऑफ द चेंज इन द बेस ईयर. बेस ईयर से करंट ईयर प्राइस में कितना फर्क है, और अगर वो फर्क है तो क्यों वो फर्क आया है, एंड एक्चुअली कितना प्राइस में चेंज की वजह से एक्चुअल आउटपुट क्या है. जैसे आज के ईयर्स में अगर हम आज के प्राइसेस को माने तो देयर आर टू मच चेंजेस इन द वेजिटेबल प्राइसेस, बट दीज प्राइसेस आर जस्ट इन्फ्लेटेड. So we will not take this year price to calculate actual output level of the production. So we will be taking the base year price or the real index, real GDP for calculating the deflator. So that is why we say that this is the actual formula. I have explained you why we are taking the real GDP as down. So just be clear. And one more thing we are covering in this point, that GDP always tell you the welfare. GDP always tell you the welfare. Why welfare? Because how much production is there? What are the inflators? What are actually affecting? What are the externalities? One more important point. There are some externalities, some points which are affecting the GDP for the welfare. For example, there are some positive externalities also, some negative externalities also. Positive externalities means what we are getting positive from the GDP, some external factor. For example, Mr. X is there, he is going good production in his garden. For this, the pollution level of the Y, who is a neighborhood of X, has got good greenery. So that is the positive external. What is negative? One X has got an industry which is near to Y house. Then the pollution level, the environment, that is a negative externality for Y. But we will not be having adequate index for this. That is why externalities does not count for GDP welfare. It goes for GDP. but because it is just considered with the welfare part, we cannot have the accurate measures to calculate it, but there are positive externalities for GDP and negative externalities. So thank you for today. Have a nice day, stay blessed, and do revise a lot.